a lot of people had no interest in going to Europe. A lot of people
Okay.
the scene here was so self-sufficient. So was so self-sufficient, was so self-contained, and some people were so fully booked that they didn't even need to go. Like there's a famous story that I saw from one side. This, I don't know, there's this French guy, Techie Latex, TTC.
He's been here before, hasn't he? Or
Yeah,
no?
Techie.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he was trying to get, I think I'm right that it was him. He was trying to get Clio. This is when Clio was just smashing it, like
Popping off. Okay.
as far as beats, electronic beats, and doing a variety of stuff, and just bringing out album after album after album of like bangers, and bangers in the sense that like I was starting to travel and I was playing them in clubs all over the world, and they would just work on system. They would just work with different audiences, and they weren't in any way structured or sounding like anything from that side. It was rhythmically different, it was sonically different, it was stylistically different, but it would bang and it would get people really hyped up on the dance floor. And his vibe with the booking that they offered him wasn't a big money booking. It was the kind of bookings that we were taking. It was the kind of booking that people who were on that circuit were taking, but it wasn't a big money booking for South Africa's top artist, you know? And he told them to kind of feck off. He told them, no thanks, keep your Europe, keep your Paris, like I'm not interested. My schedule's full and I'm good. Subsequently, Black Coffee got that booking, and that was his first tour, and he's been pumping ever since. so,
Oh man.
but the point that I'm making is that for a lot of people, things were good here. And South Africa is that place where in one night, the people with the top songs in one night, they'll play 8 gigs, you know?
Oh yeah, I've definitely seen that. Like especially in December here in Durban, it gets pretty crazy. And also the July is also one of those things. Like you always perform like 10 gigs in a day.
Yeah. Missioning. Yeah. And so it just wasn't worth it for him at the time. But after that, then it became a big thing, and then a lot of people ended up, now it's like a normal thing and a big thing to go. And like you say, for a lot of people, it became good opportunity. From Future Sound, you saw Black Coffees and Future Sound, and you see what pops off from him. You see people like Nozinja. The Goom Wave wasn't even,
Yeah, that became really big. I know that was like in London and fucking Italy and fucking France.
But the fuck up of it is that it's still a story of exploitation. It's a story of some European dude who is using African resources to get paid and isn't paying out. What's coming into that record label account isn't coming out. And it can be argued that it's just £50, like, oh, Brad, it's just £50, but that's not the point.
So have you heard a lot of stories like that, or have you experienced anything like that?
It's the standard. It's just normal.
Really?
Like, no one gets paid. No one gets paid ever.
Fuck, welcome to the music industry.
Yeah.
So is that why you've had to do some of the shitty stuff that you said was like a bit soul destroying earlier?
No, that's why advances are such an exciting prospect, because on the back, no one gets paid. It's like, yeah, let's rock. And then it's excitement. And it's usually about the gigs, live shows is where a lot of money will come. But to trust other people's record labels to pay you is usually not a real thing. The point that I'm making is what happened with the Groom thing, for example, is a bunch of young SA dudes come up with the maddest idea in the world, and a ton of them connect with European labels. What ends up happening is that the European label owner ends up touring more than anybody on the label. And it's just a global, global north border, visa issue that they're not allowing people to travel as freely, whereas that person can travel freely amongst their comrade states.
Yeah, fuck, that actually is a really good point. I know that, yeah, that's been an issue for a lot of South African artists, is just the fucking visa thing. And America, Europe, they can be very fucky with it.
The visa thing is one side, but I mean, the more pragmatic side of it is just the ticket. That to go from London and then travel all over the UK, for some home label head over there can do that, versus somebody from here to do that mission takes more of an initial investment.
Yeah,
and some people are able to make.
But I mean, then you would say, like, it shouldn't be on the label to bring these people out and stuff like that. But I guess they're just not in it necessarily to entirely do that, depending on the label, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that is usually the thing. But I'm talking about A, how sustainable it is, and B, that I actually see that the label brings out the people once or twice, but what ends up happening really, because of what's most pragmatic, is that the label head ends up being like this curator figure and gets a shitload of gigs throughout the year in all territories and ends up being like, like really earning a lot. So they're getting the money directly into their account on one hand. On the other hand, they're playing all the gigs throughout the year as an impresario, as opposed to the actual figures.
Fuck. I didn't even really realize that or recognize that. Fuck. It's just another story of fucking music industry fuckery. But you've, I was gonna mention, you've got your own label, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just think about it more from the side of Persian flutes. You know what I mean? There's the guys in Persia who have the flutes. They make the flutes. They play the flutes. They, you know what I mean? They're flute masters. But then there's the people all over the world who stand in the universities talking about the people in Persia playing the flutes. And obviously, because they're in London already, it's easier for them to travel. So it's the same thing with.
But how do we address it then?
Our electronic music business. How do we address it?
Because I mean, I'm saying, I assume one of those things is you taking ownership over your own music.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things. One side is our government should be supporting in one way, and there are programs where they do, and there are some musicians who take advantage, and some musicians who go to the same conferences every year and get the funding every year.
Yeah, that COVID funding, was
but I mean that was needed, and people,
No, I just mean some people got millions, and there's there were some discrepancies there between people who could have really used it who didn't get, and people who were probably fine without it. But I know enough people also did get. It was just a mix.
I guess we also are part of the SACEM, the French Rights Distribution Organization, and they also did a COVID pandemic relief fund, and it's just based on that they collect so many millions and millions that are untaken every year that they have to kind of redistribute.
Okay, and then what else can we do to circumvent the exploitation from Europe and getting our artists? Is it just about focusing locally?
It's about education. It's about people not it's cheesy to say it's about education, and it sounds like a bullshit story, but it's about people knowing. I guess we're so desperate in SA that if somebody offers anything, we take it, and that's the vibe.
Yeah, and I mean that's even just locally with certain labels and stuff.
Yeah, if somebody says you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you'll just take it, and it's an opportunity, and you never know what's going to come out of it, and that's how everybody's approaching it. So it's even hard to say, but it's just for us all to share information and share resources. But there's definitely ways to do it where you don't have to be the exploited lackey.